The wind was cold, sharp. It blew through the narrow metal streets of the colony. Buildings stood tall like rusted bones. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and silence. She stood there at the edge of the busy walkway, holding her child close. Her name was Lyra. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes glowed soft gold. Her clothes were torn and thin. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Her child, maybe 3 years old, slept weakly in her arms. Lyra whispered again and again to every passerby, "Please, I just need a job." But no one stopped. Humans passed by, wrapped in thick jackets, boots stomping the wet steel. Some glanced at her, some looked away, others just frowned. She's one of them. I heard they steal tech. She's just another beggar alien. Lyra didn't speak again. Her lips were dry. Her voice was tired. Her arms ached from holding her son. But she didn't sit. She didn't cry. She just stood, hoping, waiting. A door opened nearby. It was an old workshop. A sign hung above it. Carter Repairs. A tall human man stepped out. His hands were covered in grease. His jacket was patched in 5 places. His name was Eli Carter. He noticed her. He didn't look away. For a long moment their eyes met. Hers were filled with quiet pain. His were just tired. She looked down, ready for him to turn away too. But he didn't. Eli walked up to her. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lyra." "Where are you from?" She didn't answer that. She just looked at the child in her arms. "I don't want money," she said quickly. "Just work, cleaning, fixing, anything. I was an engineer before the war. I can help." Eli didn't speak. The wind howled again. Her child coughed softly in his sleep. "You hungry?" Eli asked. Lyra slowly nodded. "Follow me." Inside the workshop, it was warm, barely. A small heater in the corner buzzed. Tools hung from the walls. Machines lay half-built across tables. Eli pointed to a chair. "Sit." She didn't move. "I won't hurt you," he added. Lyra sat down. Her child curled up in her lap, still sleeping. Eli poured soup into a small metal bowl. He placed it on the table near her along with a worn-out spoon. Lyra blinked. "You're giving me food? It's not poisoned, if that's what you're thinking," he said with a small smile. She picked up the spoon. Her hands trembled as she ate. She fed a few drops to her child, too. The boy opened his eyes just a little and gave a tiny, weak smile. It broke something inside Eli. "Just for a second. You said you were an engineer?" Eli asked. Lyra nodded. "Before the war. I fixed cooling systems on research stations, but after, everything changed. My husband died. The camps were full. We ran. I just want to earn something. For him." She looked at her son. Eli leaned back in his chair. "I don't have money to pay you, but there's a lot of junk here that needs cleaning. Machines that need hands. If you work, you eat. That's all I can offer." Lyra bowed her head. "That's enough." Outside, people walked by, whispering, "Did you see that?" "She's inside his shop. Humans are losing their minds." Eli heard them. He didn't care. Inside, Lyra took off her outer scarf and got to work. Her child lay sleeping on a bench beside her. She began wiping dust from the shelves, organizing wires, sorting parts. For the first time in weeks, she had a roof. And for the first time in even longer, she felt something strange. Hope. That night, Lyra lay awake on the cold floor of the workshop. Eli had placed an old mattress in the corner. A threadbare blanket covered her and her child. The boy slept peacefully for the first time in days, but Lyra did not. The door wasn't locked. She noticed that there was no guard, no camera, no trap, just a simple wooden door, and freedom. If she left, no one would stop her. But she didn't run. The air inside the shop was quiet, almost too quiet. Tools hung from the ceiling. Machines sat in shadows, half-built, almost alive in the dim light. Lyra sat up. Her eyes scanned the room. Something about this place felt strange, not dangerous but heavy, as if the walls held stories. She stood, wrapping her child gently in the blanket. Then, barefoot, she walked toward the main work table. There were pictures there, old photographs, faded, bent. A young girl in one, a woman with kind eyes in another. Eli's family. One photo had burn marks on the edges. The girl was wearing a school uniform. Human, smiling. Happy. Lyra looked at it for a long time. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her. You couldn't sleep either. Eli stood near the door, holding 2 mugs. Steam rose from them. One was clearly for her. "I saw your photos," she said quietly. He didn't move. "She was my daughter." Lyra turned to him. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. His silence spoke louder than any words. "She died?" she whispered. "Not dead. Gone," he said. "They took her." Lyra's hands tightened around the mug he handed her. "Aliens?" she asked. He shook his head. "Humans." The silence stretched. Lyra looked down. "I'm sorry. I don't tell many people that," Eli said. "But I don't know why. I trust you." She blinked. Her heart beat faster. Why would a human trust her? She had no answer, so she asked something else. "Why did you help me?" Eli took a sip from his mug. "Because I know what it feels like to scream for help and be invisible." Morning came slow and gray. Lyra worked without being asked. She scrubbed the floor, sorted parts, repaired wires, fixed a broken power unit in silence. Eli watched her from a distance. He didn't give orders. He didn't need to. She moved like someone who had fixed machines her whole life. Her hands were fast but careful. Her mind stayed sharp even after all she had been through. But something was bothering him. The mark on her neck. A faint scar shaped like a curve with small dots beneath it. Barely visible, but definitely there. He'd seen that mark before, on wanted posters, on reports. It belonged to... He stopped himself. He couldn't ask yet. That afternoon, a man entered the workshop. Well. Eli Carter still saving broken junk? It was Marcus Rell, a local trader, known for his sharp tongue and cruel jokes. He noticed Lyra immediately. "Who's this? New girlfriend?" Eli stayed calm. "She works here." Marcus stepped closer, eyes scanning Lyra like she was a tool for sale. "She's one of the rebels, isn't she? From the outer moons. I've seen faces like hers on bounty lists." Lyra froze. Eli's voice turned sharp. "You need something, Marcus?" Marcus smirked. "Just a reminder. You take in her kind, people talk. You don't want trouble, do you?" He walked out laughing. Lyra looked at Eli. He's not wrong. "You were a rebel?" "No," she said quickly. Then paused. "Not me. My husband. He fought. I didn't. I just fixed things." Eli's eyes narrowed. "And that mark?" She touched her neck slowly. "That was put there when they captured us, so humans would know who we were." For the first time, Eli looked truly angry. Not at her. At the world. "At least now I understand why you didn't run," he said. "You've been running long enough." That night, Lyra did not stay near the door. She stayed close to the tools, the machines, the warmth. And for the first time, she trusted the human, just a little. It happened 2 days later. Lyra was cleaning an old motor coil near the front of the workshop. Her child was sleeping in the back, wrapped in a warm cloth. The day had been quiet, almost peaceful. Then came the sound. Crash! A sharp blast of glass shattered the silence. The front window exploded inward. Shards flew across the floor like tiny knives. Lyra jumped back, her hands over her face. Her heart pounded. A brick lay on the ground, wrapped around. It was a torn piece of paper, Eli ran in from the storeroom. He saw the broken window, the mess, and Lyra standing frozen with fear. He grabbed the paper and read it. Humans first. Send the alien out, or we come in. His jaw tightened. His knuckles turned white around the note. Lyra spoke in a small voice. They found me. Eli didn't answer. He walked to the door, stepped outside, and looked around. No one there. But he could feel eyes watching from the rooftops, behind shadows, from alley corners. He said nothing. Just went back inside and began boarding up the window. Later that night, Eli installed a new lock on the door. Lyra sat beside her son, rubbing his small back, whispering comfort. I should leave, she said softly. I don't want your shop burned down or worse. Eli didn't even turn. If they try, I'll rebuild it. Why? She asked. He turned to her. Because they're cowards. And because you saved my shop more in 2 days than anyone in this town ever has. Lyra looked down. Her hand gently brushed over her neck where the rebel mark was still faint. The next morning, people in the colony whispered louder than before. They didn't hide it anymore. She's still here? Eli's gone soft. Maybe he likes her kind. A group of shopkeepers approached Eli at lunch. We've decided, the lead man said, if you want to keep doing business in this town, that alien goes, or you lose our trade. Eli folded his arms. So be it. Another man stepped forward. You'll regret this. You'll lose everything. Eli looked him in the eye. Then maybe everything's not worth keeping. That afternoon, someone poured sludge into the workshop's water line. Lyra discovered it when she tried to wash her son's blanket. The smell was terrible. It made her eyes sting. She didn't tell Eli right away. She just cleaned it up quietly and boiled what little clean water she could find. That night, her son had a fever. He coughed hard. His face was hot. His breathing became slow. Lyra panicked. No, please stay with me. Eli found her, trying to cool the boy down with wet cloth. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat, picked the child up gently, and said, We're going to the clinic. The clinic was run by Dr. Myra Griggs, an older woman with white hair and cold eyes. She looked at the boy, then at Lyra. I don't treat aliens, she said. Eli stepped forward. He's a child, Myra. She folded her arms. It's not safe. If I help one, the others will come. Eli said nothing. He just laid the boy down on the clinic bed gently. Then he stared at the doctor. My daughter once came here with a cut hand, he said. You stitched her up, no questions asked. You said all pain deserves care. Dr. Griggs looked at him, then at the sick child, whose skin was pale blue and sweating. She sighed. One night. That's all. Lyra stayed by her son's side until sunrise. She didn't sleep, not even once. Eli brought food. He sat beside her. They won't stop, she said. I know, Eli answered. I'm not worth this. You are to him, he said, nodding to her child. And maybe to me, too. The next day, another note appeared. This time, it was nailed to the front door. Next time, it won't be just a window. Lyra tore it down with shaking hands. She didn't cry, but she no longer looked afraid. She looked ready. The wind outside howled louder than usual that night. The boarded-up window shook. The lights in the workshop flickered. Lyra stood near the door with a tool in her hand, not to fix something this time, but to defend her son. Eli checked the locks again. He had reinforced them with thick metal bars. Still, neither of them felt safe. Too many eyes had watched them that day. Too many doors had slammed shut when they walked by. I don't think they'll wait much longer, Lyra said quietly. Eli nodded. We'll be ready. He placed a small blaster on the table. Old, outdated, but it could fire. Lyra stared at it. You'd shoot them? If they come for you or your child, he said. Yes. She looked away, struggling to breathe. Then, slowly, she reached into her satchel. From the very bottom, wrapped in a torn piece of cloth, she pulled out something. It was a metal chip, no bigger than a finger. covered in strange alien symbols. Eli frowned. "What is that?" "My husband's data key," Lyra whispered. "Before he died, he told me to keep it safe. He said it holds secrets. Things the humans didn't want the galaxy to see." Eli stepped closer. "Secrets like what?" Lyra looked him straight in the eyes. "War crimes. Human commanders who bombed entire alien cities. Places with only families. Children." Eli froze. Now he understood. "They're not after me because I'm a refugee," Lyra said. "They're after me because I have this. And they know you're here now," Eli added. She nodded. "That man who threw the brick? I recognized him. He used to work in the camps. He was security. He saw me once, and I think he remembered." Eli ran his hand through his hair. "You should have told me." "I wanted to," she said, "but I didn't want you to look at me like I was dangerous." "I don't," Eli replied. "I look at you like you're in danger. That's not the same." Suddenly, bang! The workshop's back door rattled hard. A loud crash echoed through the rear hallway. Lyra jumped, grabbing her child from the floor and running to the corner. Eli grabbed the blaster and moved quietly toward the back. Another sound. Footsteps. Then silence. Eli waited behind the door, finger on the trigger. Heart pounding. When the door burst open, it wasn't who he expected. It was a girl, no older than 16. Dirty face, terrified eyes. She raised her hands. "Don't shoot. Please, I just came to warn you." Eli lowered the blaster. "Who are you?" The girl looked at Lyra. "They're coming. Tonight." "Who?" Lyra asked. "My brother's one of them. He said they're going to burn this place down. Said you're a threat. Said if the human protects you, he's a traitor." Eli's voice was sharp. "How many?" "6. Maybe more." "When?" The girl's voice broke. "Before sunrise." Lyra looked at her son. He was sleeping again, unaware of the danger surrounding him. "I have to leave," she said. "They want me, not you." Eli didn't answer. "I'll go far," she added. "Hide the data chip somewhere safe. Give it to someone who can spread the truth, maybe your newsnet, maybe—" "No," Eli said firmly. "You're not going anywhere." He turned to the girl. "What's your name?" "Marin." "You did something brave, Marin. Stay here tonight. We'll need your help." She nodded, still shaking. Eli began building something at the entrance. Metal pieces, wires, an old welding torch. Lyra helped, silently. Their hands moved fast, almost in sync. They weren't just fixing a door. They were preparing for a siege. Midnight passed. Then 2 a.m. The lights dimmed again. Outside, shadows moved. Lyra clutched her son in one arm and the data chip in the other. Eli stood near the entrance, blaster ready, breathing slow and steady. A voice called out from outside. "Send out the alien." "No one has to die tonight," Eli replied without hesitation. "She's not leaving, so you better bring everything you've got." The night was thick with smoke, not from fire, but from fear. Outside the workshop, over a dozen townspeople stood in a crooked line, holding torches, pipes, and old rifles. Some had their faces covered, others did not. They weren't strangers. They were neighbors, mechanics, traders, farmers, people Eli had once shaken hands with. Now they were here to drive out a single alien woman and her child. Inside, the small workshop felt like a fortress, not because it was strong, but because it was all they had. Eli stood at the door, blaster in one hand, calm fury in his eyes. Lyra sat behind the workbench, her child sleeping in her arms, unaware of the war at the door. Marin, the young girl who had warned them, hid near the back, clutching a wrench like it was a sword. Then a voice shouted from the darkness, "Last chance, Carter. Open the door. Send her out. You don't need to get hurt for some alien." Eli didn't flinch. "She's not some alien," he replied. "She's a mother and she's under my protection." Whispers moved through the crowd like wind. He's serious. He's lost his mind. He's really going to fight for her? The man at the front, Marcus Rell, stepped forward. He grinned. You always were soft, Eli. You forgot what they did during the war. Her kind doesn't belong here. Eli took one slow step outside the door, blaster still lowered but ready. I remember the war, Marcus, he said. I also remember humans starting it. Murmurs followed. Doubt spread like cracks in old glass. Eli didn't stop. She didn't attack anyone. She didn't steal. She cleaned. She worked. She fixed my machines. When your systems broke, she was ready to help. But you threw bricks and poison. His voice grew louder. She's worth more than any one of you cowards, standing out here with torches. Inside, Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She had never heard anyone speak like that, for her, not in years, not since her husband. And now a human was doing it, for her. But Marcus was not finished. He raised his rifle. Then die with her, Eli. Raised his blaster too, but before either could fire, boom! A flash from the roof, a warning shot from an unexpected place. Everyone ducked. Lyra peeked from behind the table, just in time to see Dr. Myra Griggs standing on a nearby rooftop. Holding a hunting rifle, her voice echoed from above. Put your weapons down. Now. Everyone stared. She shouted again. That child inside, he's still under my care. If anyone tries to harm him, I'll shoot. The tension snapped. Half the crowd lowered their weapons. Two turned and walked away. Marcus cursed under his breath. You'll regret this, he growled. Already do, Eli said calmly, lowering his blaster. But I'll live with it, unlike you. Marcus spat on the ground, then disappeared into the dark with the last of his loyal followers. Silence. Then the sound of boots walking away. The danger was gone, for now. Inside, Lyra's knees gave out. She collapsed to the floor, holding her son, eyes full of tears, not from fear, but from something deeper, something like safety. Eli closed the door gently, locked it again, then walked over to her. He knelt beside her. You okay? She wiped her face and nodded, then whispered something no one expected to hear from her. Why would you risk everything for me? Eli didn't answer right away. Then he said, Because I see who you really are. She stared at him. And who am I? She asked. He smiled softly. Someone this world doesn't deserve, but desperately needs. From the back of the shop, Marin peeked out. Does this mean it's over? Eli stood tall. No, he said. This is just the beginning. The workshop was quiet, too quiet. It had been 2 days since the standoff. No one had come back, no more bricks, no more threats. But that didn't calm Lyra. It only made her more afraid. Because now, she could feel it in the air. They weren't done. They were waiting, watching, planning. She packed her bag slowly that night, silently. A few tools, a blanket, 1 can of food, and the data chip. Her son slept beside her, his tiny chest rising and falling. She kissed his forehead. He was warm again. Too warm. The fever had returned. Still, she wrapped him up and gently lifted him into her arms. She didn't wake Eli, didn't leave a note, didn't look back. The sky was a blanket of black. She moved fast through side alleys and quiet paths, holding her son close. Her legs were shaking, her body still sore from days of work and nights of fear. But she didn't stop. Not until she reached the edge of the colony wall. That's when she heard the whisper. Mommy. Her child's voice was weak, almost too soft to hear. Then his arms slipped from around her neck and he collapsed in her arms. No, 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 no. She dropped to her knees in the dirt. His skin had turned cold. His breathing was shallow. He wouldn't open his eyes. Lyra screamed into the wind. Not loudly, not like thunder, but like glass, breaking quietly in the dark. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was trying to keep you safe." She didn't see the shadow run toward her. She didn't notice the flashlight until it hit her eyes. "Lyra." It was Eli. He had woken up and found her gone. He was still in his workshop shirt, boots untied, hair messy from sleep, but his eyes were wide with panic. "What happened?" He just stopped moving." Eli didn't wait. He scooped the child into his arms and turned around. "Run," he said. "Back to the clinic, now." They ran through the silent streets. No one helped, but no one stopped them either. By the time they reached the clinic, Lyra's hands were shaking so hard she couldn't turn the doorknob. Eli kicked the door open. "Myra," he shouted. The doctor rushed in seconds later, already putting gloves on. She didn't ask questions. She saw the child and went straight to work. Lyra stood in the corner, frozen, covered in dust, face streaked with tears. Eli didn't leave her side. For 30 minutes, the only sounds were machines beeping and Myra's voice giving sharp, quiet orders. Then, the child cried out. One long, thin, tired cry. But it was enough. He was alive. Lyra fell to the floor sobbing, not with fear this time, but with relief so deep it broke something inside her. Eli put a hand on her shoulder. "You should have told me." She couldn't meet his eyes. "I didn't want you to stop caring." He knelt beside her. "You think I cared because you stayed? Lyra, I cared because you tried, even when the whole world was against you." The next day, Lyra sat beside her son's bed. He was sleeping better, breathing steady, skin no longer burning. Myra gave him nutrient shots and clean water. The fever was breaking. Marin arrived later with clean clothes, a small stuffed animal, and hot soup. Eli brought tools to fix a broken heater inside the clinic. Everyone worked together. It felt almost like family. At sunset, Lyra stepped outside and looked at the colony walls. She had planned to leave, to disappear forever. But now, she understood something. She couldn't run from her past anymore. She would have to face it, not for herself, but for her son, and for the human who stood by her side when no one else did. 2 weeks passed. The window at Carter Repairs was replaced with stronger glass. The broken pipes were fixed. The hate-filled notes stopped coming, but the real change was slower. It started with watching eyes becoming curious glances, then, with whispered insults, becoming quiet nods, and finally, with silence turning into words. Lyra was outside the Tao workshop, wiping oil from her hands. Her child, now healthier, played with a ball made of scrap wire and rubber, laughing as Marin chased him around the yard. The sound of laughter was strange here, but it fit. She looked up and saw someone watching. "Mr. Devon's a shopkeeper who had once shouted, 'Filthy alien.' In the street now he stood holding a box. "I heard you fix cooling systems?" he asked. Lyra straightened, unsure how to answer. Eli stepped out beside her. "She's the best." Devons placed the box down gently. "My fridge has been acting up. Thought maybe you could take a look." Lyra looked at Eli. He smiled and nodded. She picked up the box. "Of course," she said. The next day, 2 more came. A woman asked her to fix a power coil for her farming drone. A man needed help reprogramming his warehouse door. They still didn't say much, but they looked her in the eye now. They thanked her. One evening, Marin arrived holding a small package. "From the school," she said, handing it to Lyra. Lyra opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten note. "You're invited to speak about your work with machines to our students. They need to see what real strength looks like." Lyra stared at the paper. No one had ever invited her to anything. She looked at her son, who was now learning human words faster than she could teach him. She smiled. "I'll go," she said. Later, that night after everyone had left, Eli sat beside her on the workshop steps. The stars above were bright. The same stars that had once felt cold and far now looked warm. She turned to him. I never thought I'd be safe again, she said. Let alone respected. Eli chuckled. Respect comes slow. But you didn't wait for it. You earned it. She looked down at her hands. They still don't know who I really am, she whispered. About the data chip, the secrets I carry. Eli nodded. Then tell them. Or don't. Either way, you've already shown them what kind of person you are. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the small chip. The metal shimmered softly. I want you to have it, she said. Eli blinked. Me? You're human, she said. If you send this to the right people, someone might actually listen. He took it carefully, holding it like it was fire. I'll protect it just like I protected you. A week later, the town's news terminal flashed a new headline. Truth buried in the war. Evidence of human raids on civilian alien colonies uncovered. No one asked where it came from, but many knew. The town stayed quiet that day, but no bricks. We're thrown. No threats returned. And 3 more people came asking for Lyra's help. On the next full moon, a small celebration was held at the edge of the colony. A food stall opened. Children danced near handmade lights, and Lyra stood beside Eli, clean. Clothes, head held high, her son on her hip. Someone asked, "Is that your wife?" Eli didn't answer right away. Then he turned to her and smiled. "If she'll have me," he said. Lyra laughed softly. "Let's fix your shop first." They both laughed, and for the first time in a long, long time, she felt not like a stranger, not like a refugee, but like she belonged.